My name is
Meeting is
Virginia
being
Bond,
recorded.
and you are here for a Google Forms training. Let's get some data. So before we start, I am going to ask you a couple questions. Just going to kind of be my guidance to kind of see where we are and who needs what. How many of you have never used Google Forms before? Yep, put those hands right in the air if you have never used it, or you're like, I'm kind of uncertain what I'm doing when I'm doing it, right? That's okay. Yep, perfect. I just want to make sure that's where we are. I want to make sure I get you kind of going into this. So I'm going to start at the beginning. This is really a beginner training, but it's pretty easy. So that's the good thing. So there's no worries. And usually what happens is you play in a form for a little bit and you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. So that makes sense. So I'm going to share my screen. And if anytime while I'm in this process, I am a moron and I forget to share the correct screen, you have the ability to please just yell at me and tell me to share the right screen, because I do that now and then. All right, so I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to put you into the document, and I'm going to close a few things because I was working on stuff while you guys were coming. I'm going to pull this over here and I am going to pin it. So I do see people still coming in. It's all good. We're just starting, so it's not a worry. Going to get you in, and I am going to send you this link. So hopefully after this recording populates, it's literally taken half an hour to get them to populate. We're back to regular time, which makes me happy. I will get you the link and you'll have what you need so we can run from there. Okay, so here's the goals for the day. We're going to understand the basic parts of form, like the difference between layout and the difference between edit and shared mode. Quite honestly, this part right here, the difference between edit and shared mode, I'm going to put a big highlight on it, because if there's anything that is affecting people's ability to share the right way, that's the issue right there. We're sharing from the wrong place. So I'm going to show you how to do that the right way. Question types, moving beyond those basics, creating a simple form, and then the ways to look at your data. Then I'm going to show you some templates, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. So, that's a lot for an hour, but trust me, most of you that know me know that I'm going to power through it, and you are going to have that before you leave today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a form. So this is a form right here. Some of you have already seen this. This is a sign-in sheet that I use with anybody takes a session with me, right? So if you take a session that's face-to-face and you're with me for more than an hour, you actually do this form yourself. And if you're not, I do the form. I fill it in from the data that you give me. That's why I take attendance, right? That's why I don't know where the camera is. That's why I take attendance. I have your name and your school and your email, because I keep track. I have to keep track of it so that I can do a data report at the end of the year for reimbursements for districts. So this, what I am in right now, is called edit mode. So this is, I'm going to start right off the bat, and I'm going to ask you questions as we go through the day. This is edit mode, and the way you know that is because you have tools across the top. See the tools across the top? So I have a name, questions, response, and then you can see these tools over here. I am in edit mode. This is where I can make my changes. So the other one is shared mode, or the preview mode. No tools across the top. See, there's none there. So I can't make any edits into this right now. I can only fill out the form. So that's the difference between the two. So you can either edit them or you can share them. So this is a really important feature. Trust me, we're going to talk about it a lot. So let's do basic layout of a Google form. So we start with the edit, tools across the top, versus the share, no tools. So it's important that you understand, this is where I do the work. This is where I make changes. I set it up. I create it. This is where I have the ability to push it out to people. So this is how I look at it. I always say to people, I preview before I send things, because I'm a notorious bad speller. So I always want to fix things as I'm going. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close this one. All right. So that's the first thing. Next thing. So what is edit and which is shared? So I have two pictures here, and I'm going to put it in full present mode so you can see. So you're going to use a thumbs up. So those of you that I can see your hands, you're going to use a thumbs up. So is this edit, this one that I'm pointing to on the left. If it's edit, give me a thumbs up. Okay, you all passed the test because that's not edit. So is this edit at the bottom? Is that edit? If it is, give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Look at this. Perfect, right? Because there's tools. I can see tools across the top, right? I see those tools, so I have the ability to change it. Very good. So you've all just passed your first test. Hey, look at that. I just gave you a quiz and you didn't even know it, right? Quick, easy. That's a real easy way to just do a quick assessment with people to make sure they're getting it. Perfect. So now let's talk about starting from scratch. So I'm going to start a form from scratch. So I'm going to open a new tab. I'm going to come out here to my mail, maybe if it lets me. I'm going to go past my mail. I'm going to go here to a new tab. I am going to go to forms. Hold on, I got somebody trying to get into this session. I don't understand what's going on. Sorry, guys. Going to just give me 30 seconds to get, somebody's trying to get in and she says she can't. Hold on. All right. Sorry. So forms.new. I am not much of a go to the waffle. And it got wonky all of a sudden. So there. So when we come in, I'm going to hit the other way that I do it. I go to forms.new. So what it does, as soon as I do that, it's going to open a form automatically for me. So I love that because number one, it's going to give me what I want. So that's one way that I can do it, right? That's the main way that I would typically make a form. That's a shortcut. That's a time efficiency tool. So any of the tools work like that. Docs.new works like that. So if I go up here and I open a new one and I go docs.new, it's going to open a new presentation for me. So docs.new, when I'm in, you notice I'm not having to go to docs. I'm not having to go to drive. I can create it right on the fly as I go. So I'm saving time because I'm not having to go through and do a lot of extra jumping. So the other way is that if I was working in a folder, which is where I'm going to go right now, I'm going to go into a folder, and Google trainings with me are never just one dimensional. You're getting a lot of tips and tricks in them because I think that's where we save our time. I'm actually going to go into the form folder that I have. So it's folder 101 in here. And if I was going to create the form, I'd create it smack dab right in here because this is where I want it to be. Most times when I create something, I create it in the structure I want it to be in so I don't have to organize it again later. I have told my friends for a long time, I'm very, very lazy, and you're supposed to say no. I'm excruciatingly efficient. That's the answer you're always supposed to give me. So I'm going to go into new, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to create a docs. I'm going to create a form right in there. Yes. So now it's going to be in the folder where I want to keep it. So that's really important because a lot of the problem is we make something and we don't know where we put it, right? I've created it. I have no clue where it went. So I'm going to name this, and I'm going to call this play form. And how about play form, not play from? Don't judge me by my typing because it's awful. April 14th, and I'm going to put it up here. And I'm actually just going to call it form for play. So my title and my title here and the name of my document are two different things. I do that on purpose, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. It'll make sense in a minute. So the description goes here. I could put a little description in here. Forms training. I don't have to. I can do whatever I want. Wow, my ability to type today is limited. I'm going to work my way across. This is the folder. It says, where do you want to move it to? So it's going to say, what folder do I want to move it into? So this is where it's already stored. I'm good. I don't have to move it. The star. allows me to have quick and easy access to it. So I use a star a lot because I know where it sits in my Google Drive and I can get to things much quicker. I work my way across, ignore the puzzle piece. I'm gonna do a color. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do color and I'm gonna change the image. If I was a classroom teacher, I would be color coding my forms according to the group that they were in. So my ELA would be one color, my math would be another color, my science would be another color. If I was adding in things like, if I was a secondary teacher and I had 4 sessions, each one of my period classes would be a different color because then it would be easier for me to keep track of where I am. If I was a secretary working with teachers and I needed to push things out by building, I probably wouldn't change it. I'd keep it all one color, but I might, according to the task, if it was for teachers, it might be one color. And if it was for administrators, it might be another color so that I could tell the difference between the two. That's just an organizational thing when you start to look for your forms. So I'm going to choose an image. So I'm going to go out here. This is how you can make them pretty. So you can see there's lots of really nice images in here. So when I say choose a color, I don't necessarily have to choose one of those theme colors. I can just add a picture in. This is how you can really kind of customize them to something that's much nicer than anything else you have. And then you can even go with a darker color like this. So you can see you can customize them like that. Pretty simple. So let me do something else. I'm going to choose another image. So I can pick any image that's here. So the way I got to that was through the color palette. Okay. So the color palette, just going to change what I have going on. I can upload anything or I can pull any. You can see there's so many options in here and there's more coming, right? They've updated these even in the last few days. There's a lot more travel. There's a lot more other. They have put in some that are just for kids. You can also upload your own photos. So you don't have to be limited to what you already use. So I'm going to use this picture here. This one, this is my colleague Hillary D, right? I'm going to pull her in right there. So this is a picture of her. Maybe I'll just pull her hands down here. I'm going to add that. I'm going to say done. So I'm going to pull that in and that's going to make a custom header. So you can pull in your own pictures as well. You're not stuck to just what's there. So you can be very customized to what's in here. And I'm just going to go with the red. So that's pretty easy, right? Everybody comfortable with that? Pretty simple. You can also change font. You don't have a lot of options. So for those people that don't like the options, there used to be none. So that's what I say to you. I mean, it used to be 1 and 1 only. Now you have 4, okay? They're not great, but they're better than nothing. So here's my form. So that's all done. I'm finished with that. It's all done. So that's the basics. I've got the image put in. I've changed the color. And now what I want to do is I want to put in some questions. So let's just go give a quick little look at where I am in my training. So this is, I've done the basics of the mode. I've done the basics of the layout. I've done a title and a title. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to move the pieces. Now this image right here, it's a little busy, but what it does is it kind of show you all the components of a Google form. So I have a title, I have a description, how I can move things around, what I can do with the pieces, and I'm going to walk you through it more than I'm going to use this. And then we're going to come back to this right there. Okay, so we are going to make a new question. So a question always exists on your form, and it starts with a blank question, and it's right here. So here's my blank question. And I say, what day is today? Question mark. So you notice as soon as I did that, it gave me options, right? So what day is today? And I walked by them too quickly. If I go, because I'm asking it what day is today, it believes, Google thinks that I'm looking for a date. So that is one of the question types. But if I would rather have a multiple choice answer, I can come up here, I click multiple choice, and I should be able to type Monday. Oh, Monday. And it should start to give me options. So as soon as I typed in Monday, it says, do you want to add all? I sure do, because I want to use as many tips and tricks as I can. So I'm going to add them all in. So what day is today? That's my first question, all done. So let's think through what we know we just saw. This is the question. This is my ellipses. These are the kind of questions I can ask. I can put in a picture. I'm going to do that in a minute. I can duplicate this question. Okay, let's duplicate it. Okay, so what day is tomorrow? Okay, so my answers all stay the same. Just the question has changed. That all makes sense, right? We're all still good with that? Okay, still good. So the next thing I can do is I can say, all right, I don't really like this question. Let's delete it. Sounds good to me. So I just hit the garbage can. It's very much like all the other Google components, and I can require questions. So if you're working with students, I highly recommend that you require questions. If you're working with adults, I highly recommend you require questions. Well, why is that an option? Why is it not turned on? Can I turn it on? Those are all the questions people ask me all the time. Can I just default it turn on? No, you can't. Wish you could, but you can't. So you have to turn it on for every question. If it's important enough for you to type it in, it's important for it to be required, right? Pretty simple. So require it all. Now there are a few options that things aren't required, like other answers, or, you know, how can I help you today? Is there anything else you need? That might be a time where it's a not required answer. But if you're creating it to gather data from someone, you need to require the answer. Okay, so multiple choice questions. Pretty simple. Let's make another one. So when I come over and I look at what's in my Google form, here's what I can do. I can add a question. I can add a title and description. I can add an image. I can add a video. I can add a section break. So all I did was color code those out so they're a little easier to see which one you're working with. So here are the question types. You have a short answer. There's no, everybody asks me the character length. Someday I'm going to look it up and I go, I don't know. I always say like 142. I don't know. Short answer. I would say if you can get it on a line, it's a short answer. Okay. If you want a complete sentence, you're going to want to use paragraph text. Next one is multiple choice. So I could do multiple choice. There's no, it's not like 3 answers, 4 answers, 6 answers, 7. It's as many as you want. There's one correct answer. Check boxes. So like I can have people check, select all that apply, right? There's an option. So select which ones you want to use. Drop down boxes. So this, when I come in here, I'll show you what a drop down box is. This is a drop down box, okay? So you can see all the options, and I have lots of schools in here. So it's a lot easier for me to just pick one, right? A drop down box makes it easier for me to kind of work through the questions easier. So that's a drop down box. A file upload. That could be very valuable for you if you're trying to gather data back from your students. A file upload is going to allow people within your domain. So at Schenectady, I know because I have a pile of you here, schenectady.k12.ny.us. Anybody within that domain can do a file upload to you. So secretaries, anybody in administration, gathering information from someone, a file upload is a good way to do it because it's all going to come to you in one place. Like it goes into a file folder. So it just is really helpful. Google does that work for you and it gets it all into one place. Just a nice way to kind of gather data from people. A linear scale. So this is like a Likert scale from 1 to 5. I am feeling, okay, great. I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling bleh. I'm feeling like, are you kidding me? Are we doing this one more day? That's a good Likert scale, right? So that's one. And sometimes, you know, with students, a Likert scale could be really good this time. You know, we might want to put a Likert scale into everything we do for kids to kind of check on them and see how they're doing, because they may not be willing to tell you, they may be willing to do it on a Likert scale. So that's just one of those checking with kids to see how they're doing. I'm going to be really honest with you. Like I check in with my colleagues, there's 9 of us, and we check in every day, and I almost Likert scale every one of them. They just don't know I do it. Shh, don't tell them, right? Just try to make sure everybody's doing okay, because this is crazy life and things can change just like that. We don't always know. So that Likert scale is really helpful. A multiple choice grid. I've included a video in here because that can be a little hard to set up. So that video is really helpful. You click on it, it'll show you how to set it up. This is like I got a row this way and I got a column this way and a row this way, and I can make multiple choices. A really great way I saw somebody do this is like, I'm going to build a hamburger, and what do I want on it? I might want ketchup. It's like going to Five Guys. I might want ketchup, but I might not want mustard, and I might want extra pickles, and I might, so you can make lots of choices around one thing. A multiple choice grid, a checkbox grid. So this is if I was saying, yes, it's this, but not this. We see those on lots of softwares. It will do this, this, and this, but not those. So that's a checkbox grid. A date. So you can have somebody give you a date, a specific date and a time. These get used a lot when teachers are trying to set up parent-teacher conferences. So I'm available at these times, and it blocks out the time once you've used it. All right, so that's all of the question types. So I'm going to go back into my form, and I'm going to add a different one. So I'm going to do, just like it looks like I'm coming up to the plus sign, I'm adding a question. So what is your favorite color? Okay, and I'm not going to do it as a multiple choice. I'm going to do it as short answer. I am going to require it. Perfect, favorite color, all done. I'm going to do another one. See, these are tough. I'm going to do a plus sign. It comes down to the bottom. What, how are you feeling? God, probably should never ask anybody like that. And that's going to definitely be paragraph. Excuse me, paragraph. I'm going to require it. Okay. So now I look at all of my questions. I have them all in, and I want to reorder them. I don't like the order. So these called are double ellipses. Okay, I'm going to come right to that, Lauren, in just a second. In these ellipses, I can move things around. So I know they call them the double set of ellipses. I literally call them love handles because I love to move my stuff around once I get them going, right? That makes more sense. I love to move things around however I want them. So that's the first one. Let's do another question. I'm going to add a question in. So I'm going to undo that. I want you to see something. So you see how this is blue? I am in this question. When I click add a question, it inserts it after that question. So if you work through and you have your questions all set up and you're like, man, I'd like to put one right there, that's how to do it. So this blue section there, so if I click another, let me just do, I'm going to add an image in. So I want to put in an image right here. And I'm going to grab just a photo. Okay, look at this. That's great, right? Everybody needs a little dinosaur in their life, right? Dinosaur in the office. Okay, dino in the office. All right, so here's my dino in the office. I am going to resize it because it's pretty big. So you can see these are a lot of the same things that I would typically do in my own, when I was using anything with Google, right? I know how to resize it. I know how to insert it, all of those pieces. I'm going to actually add a question after this, right? So dino in the office. Okay. Using the above, yes, let's say caption the above photo. So this is just like random. Okay, short answer. You get one line. Okay, that's a way to use an image. So they can see this image and they can come in and they can just caption it just for something fun to do. Does that all make sense? Pretty easy, all those pieces. So title. So titles and descriptions are these things up here. I don't think I've ever used the title and description over here. I think it's weird. That's just me personally. If I do it, it would be in a section component. So the next thing down is a video. Let's add a video. So I'm going to go after this one. I'm going to add a video. The minute I pick video, it goes in. I only have one option for video. I can only go to YouTube to do video. Okay. So this is an important kind of like stop for a moment and think. Sometimes we have videos that are not from YouTube. I can include that in a Google form, but I need to put it in as a link. So it can be done. It just can't be done through video. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in a video. Let's do forms. Let's just look for a forms. Let's find a forms training to put into the forms thing. Okay, so here, ooh, let's not use Microsoft Forms. Ooh, those are icky. Sorry. We'll do a Google form. I'm going to add a Google form in. Okay, here's one right here. A tutorial for beginners. I'm just going to click on it. I could actually watch it here if I wanted to see a little bit. Oh, you can't. Yeah, you can see it. I could watch a little bit of it. It would show me what it was like, and I could stop it, and then I could just select it. It would run a lot better if I wasn't trying to do a session with all of you. So here's my video in here. So I'm gonna have video. I'm gonna have my students watch it. So watch the video and answer the next two questions. So this is, people send videos to their kids all the time and they're like, well, how do I know that my students watch the video? Well, if you don't ask them a question, you don't know if they watch the video. That would be the same in class, right? You would have them watch the video and then you would ask them a question. Well, we got to do the same thing in a Google form or in classroom. I'm getting a lot of questions like that. I signed my students a video and I don't know if they watched it. Yep, you don't, unless it's your own video and you can do a student count on it. You could do that. So now I have a video in. And then I would put two questions in after it. So I would do question 1, question 2 afterwards there. So why would I do this instead of a link? So instead of, if I go to preview right now, if I go into preview and I go here, when I play this video, what it does, just like every other Google tool, it keeps the video in the Google form. And that's really important. If I put a link into a video, it's going to open the link in a new window and kids are going to be sucked out into the YouTube universe and they may never come back. Okay? I don't know about you, but I get sucked into the black hole of death, which is called YouTube, right? So yeah, I went out to look at a video the other day and I came out an hour later because I started to just watch America's Got Talent videos because that seemed like way more important stuff to do. And I was like, that's stupid. So using YouTube videos in here will keep them embedded into the Google form. And I think that's really important. Okay, I'm going to stop for a minute because I know I've got some questions out. You know what? I don't think I have to stop sharing if I'm smart enough to go find my chat. I figured it out the other day. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe not. Chat. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I know I have some questions. Let me see what they are. If you NVIDIA, so yeah, if you embed a video, can you prevent it from showing additional links when the video is finished? Well, that's a hard maybe. Here's my hard maybe answer why. I can, because what I can do is I actually have an extension called AdBlock Pro or AdBlock Plus, I think it's called. Let me think. I gotta have it click. May not click. My extensity, it's called AdBlock Plus, which is an ad blocker. So if I turn that on, it'll stop showing videos. It'll stop showing advertisements at all. Because that is a non-Google component, I cannot endorse it. It is not like EdLaw 2D compliant. Oh, I don't know if it's EdLaw 2D compliant. But that would have to be something you'd have to have approved with your Google domain administrator, and they would be looking at EdLaw 2D compliancy. But if you had that installed on your students' accounts, there goes my cuckoo clocks. I'll try to run it now. I'm going to refresh this, and then I'm going to try to run that. It should run the video without advertisements. It's still got a little bit in there. No, that's part of the video. So mine will run without advertisements. And if I slide it to the end, let's see what happens. Right? So it is going to run it without advertisements. You're going to get a little bit, but not much. Okay? Those are the end cards that the creator put in. Okay? So they're end cards that they put in there. So Lauren's a really good question. Where was preview and how do you get back to working on the form? So Lauren, you're like right on you're right where I need you right now. Okay, so this is perfect. So right now I have two different forms open, right? This is preview. I have no tools across the top. I'm in preview mode. I'm in play form April 14th. And this one is edit, right? Edit. So this one's called form for play. Remember when I said I named them two different things? I do that very specifically. So this is the title to my form. Sits right here, title to my form. Play form April 14th, play form April 14th. This one, this is my edit mode and it's called form for play, form for play. So I do that pretty specifically because if I just click here and I click edit, it's going to take me back into my form. And then if I hit preview, what happens? It opens a new window. and it opens a new window, and it opens a new window. So it's kind of like, it just continues to open it up. So what I really want to do is I want to make sure that I'm only working in and out of two. So if I go into preview mode, I want to close the window when I'm done previewing, and then I want to come back in edit mode. So Catherine, I've sent out forms, but my students say they can't turn it in or that their assignment is missing. Any idea why? If they do submit them, they can't find them. Where can they find their submitted responses? So we're going to go into that in just a second. And I think you're sending them in the wrong mode. So I'm all done with my form right now. And here's where I am. And now I want to send it. So now this is where the nitty gritty kind of meets the dirt, right? So I want to push it to people. So here's where people make their mistakes. Most people are like, okay, I'm going to send this. So I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to grab this link, because this is what we do in Google, right? We can grab it here. We can get a shared link. We can just push it out. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to open a new window, and I'm going to just push the link, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to send this. I'm going to put it in my Google Kids. Well, what happens? What mode are my kids in? They're in edit mode. So they can make changes to the form. They could make any changes they want. This is where I see the biggest amount of mistakes that happen. What I want to do is I want to go to send. So I want to come here and I want to go into the send mode. So unlike any other Google component, we do not share a Google form. We send them. We don't share Google Forms, we send them. Because you create the form, it belongs to you, you're collecting data. That's what I want to do. I want to collect the data. And the purpose of a Google form is so that all the data comes back to one document. So the perfect example of this, I used to teach music, and I used to take my elementary chorus, of which there was 135 kids in it. I used to take them on a field trip, and I used to give them a paper copy of the permission slip. And I'd send it home, and I'd get 135 paper permission slips back that I would have to type, because I wanted to know, like, how are you getting home? What bus are you taking? Do you need after school busing? Is somebody picking you up, right? And mom and dad would have to sign off on it and everything. If I sent that as a Google form, instead of my 135 pieces of paper back, all of their data would go into one form. So I'd have it all in one place, and I wouldn't have to create it. That's the purpose of a form, is to get all your data into one place. So you're housing it together. So when you send it out, we have to make sure that we're sending it in the right way. Because when you go into Classroom, people are like, well, I can't make a copy. So we don't make copies for our kids on forms. They don't get their own form. All of their data is coming into my one form. So all of their stuff comes to me. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So I'm in here, I'm going to send it. I have options. So how do I want to send it? I could send it via an email. So I'm going to send an email to myself. Yay. Email. No, my gosh, that email doesn't exist. I don't even know who that is. That one does, though. kvirginiabond@gmail.com, right? I'm going to send that one. Within sending them this way, you have to hand type them in. If I send from the Google form, I have to hand type them in. If you had a group created, like, say, so we have one called the instructional team. My team is going to hate me. At NARIC.org, right? I have an email called the instructional team at NARIC.org. 8 of us get that. So if you have a group email that you can send to, you could use that. If you created that group, you'd have the ability to use that. Here's my subject, right? Play form April 14th. I've invited you to fill out a form, okay? You can make that message whatever you want. This just automatically comes. So this box right here could be really valuable to us. So if I include the form in the email, what it's going to do is it's going to take this form, it's going to push it right into the body of my email. Now that's important because kids can answer it right from it within an email. Administrators and parents will much quicker answer that than if they have to click a link. And the benefit of it is that you get almost immediate response because they don't have to go off and open something. They can also answer from their phone. So I'm actually going to just send it. Okay, and I'm going to open up my phone. So if I'm lucky and everything aligns and I get it working perfectly, it should come right to my phone. So it did. See that? There's my form. Can you see it on my phone? So here we go. The form is right here. So I'm going to fill it out real quickly. What day is today? Today's Tuesday, I think. It's fine. Dino in the office. Dino. Okay, this is a really fun one. I'm just doing it really quickly. My favorite color is periwinkle. I did that. I don't have anything else to option, and I'm just going to submit it. Okay, so I did it from my phone. See how quick that was? And I did it from my mail, right? I don't have to go anywhere else to do it, which is kind of awesome because it will automatically go. So I can go in. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit refresh on this. So I'm going to refresh it because I should now have a response in here. So if everything plays right, and take a minute. Let me see. Oh, I might not have pushed refresh. Yep, I got to finish it. Got to finish it in here, and I got to hit submit. That was my bad. I didn't hit submit. Sometimes even I do bad things. Okay, 1. Yep. Dino. I'm going to answer it one more time. Sorry. Dino. Periwinkle. Perfect. Down at the bottom, I have to hit submit. There. Oh, see that? See how that populated right up? Automatic response. So now, when we look at responses, there are multiple ways to get them. So here's my summary. So only one person has answered this. I wonder why, because I'm the only person I sent it to, right? So here's the responses. So I can look at a summary. So everybody would come in. So let me show you what that looks like when you actually have lots of responses. So this is what a summary looks like, okay? So these are lots of people. Like that's what a summary looks like. So you get a pie chart and you can see the answers that they've chosen. So that can be really helpful. So the other one, when I go through the next one, I can see the questions. So here's the questions and here's how this is the first that was answered, the next one. So this is by question. So this is data that I'm getting by question. So if I'm looking through my, something I created for my students and I want to see where they're falling, I can look at them by question. And I can also see it individually. So here's my answers, right? I didn't record my email, so I don't know who said it, but here's my answers. And I can see the answers that I gave by person. If I had collected my email, it would have my name up there. I didn't do that in my form. Okay, well, maybe I want to, right? Maybe that was an error. That was something I wanted to do. So the other thing that I think is super valuable is this little green icon right here in the top corner. It says create a spreadsheet. So all of you that are scared of Excel, stop being scared, because what this is going to do, it's not only going to make it, it's going to take all of our data and dump it into a spreadsheet. So you could rename it, you could do all of these things, but I'm going to cancel it for a minute because trust Google to do what Google needs to do. It's going to do the right thing for you, I promise. In this case, if I click on this box, it's going to create a spreadsheet. The name matches the form. Keep it simple because that's the easiest way to do it. I'm going to create it. All right, here we go. So it's going. It's going to create the spreadsheet. And what it does is it makes the top row are the questions that I asked. Pretty easy, right? Simple, simple. Let me show you one that's all filled out so you understand how beneficial this is. So I'm going to go into this one. So I already have a spreadsheet set up for this. So here's all my data, right, for my classes that I teach. The benefit of this is now I can actually manipulate this form, all this spreadsheet, and I can move stuff around, which is really beneficial to me. So I can group my teachers in accordance to the way they come through. And what they have here, you can see there's all the fields that I need filled out. Ooh, way too many. All the ones that I need filled out, and you can see how they come through. So that's just a really great way to be able to get your data quickly. So this spreadsheet button is really your friend, I promise. And if you get in it and you're like, oh my God, I hate spreadsheets. So does the results show if the students watch the video? No, because again, we're going to come back to that. You must ask a question to know if students watch the video. So if they click on it, it's not going to tell you if they clicked on it. You actually have to ask them a question. And I highly would recommend that because Otherwise, they're going to just say they did it, right? I would have been that kid. I've been like, yeah, I did it. Yeah, it's all good. No, no, no. You got to ask them that question. All right. So, okay. So when we go back in here, hey, good job for you, Kim. She found it. So that response tab is once you ask your questions, here's my questions, your responses will come in here. So that's just a really valuable thing to have. So the next thing I want to do is go into these settings really quickly. So I have presentation settings in here. So you can see in my general, I can collect email addresses. Yep. I would say if you're going to do it with kids, just collect it. It makes sense. If it's going to be a quiz, you're going to limit it to one response. Yep. That also is really valuable. Limit it to one response. So the kids can only get in it more than they can only take it once. There's exceptions. So the form that I'm using for my sign in, I'm not going to limit to one response because I'm going to do it a lot. Okay. Do you want them to be able to edit it after they submit? That's up to you. I never have that. Do you want them to see summary charts and text responses? If it's a quiz, don't do that. Just saying, don't do that if it's a quiz. So presentation, let's look at it. Do you want them to see the progress bar? They can if you want them to. If you got under 10 questions, you don't need to. It's not very hard. Do you want to shuffle the question order? Again, that depends on you. Confirmation response. You can put in here whatever you want, right? Thank you. I appreciate your time, whatever you need. The last one is the quiz. So when I'm creating a quiz as a form, I go here first. I do this first and they come back in and put my quizzes in. So you can make it a quiz. The minute I toggle this on, we can come back to this, and we are going to come back to this in a minute. That's where I do my work. So I come here, I do my quiz first and I save. And I'm going to come back to it, I promise. So these dots over here, just so you know, you have other options in here as well. I can make a copy of a form. If I make a form that I really like it's a quiz that I want to use and I want to use it weekly, kind of same idea, just change a few things out. If I make a copy, what it does is it strips all the responses out and I start from fresh again. So does that make sense? Right? So if I had a copy, if I had a form with lots of responses in it, it would take everything out of it. I'm going to go to my drive quickly and show you what I mean. All still good? Everybody still good here? I'm going to take a drink quick. I'm juggling like you guys, and my phone's going off, and I got WebEx reminders coming through. And all right, I think I uploaded some forms in here today, and they did not go where I wanted them to. So we're going to go find them so I can give you some examples of some different forms that you could use. I want to give you a couple ideas of how to gather some data from kids that can be helpful. Just down a little bit. It's right in here. So I thought I made copies and moved them, but Google has a mind of its own sometimes. I moved them somewhere. I just don't know where I moved them. So here's an example. This is a good one. So this is a book form. So this is a reading log. So this is a way that you can gather data from your students. So a reading log. I can collect data from my students. So when you add to a classroom, you do not send a link, you add the form. Okay, so you're going to always add the form, and then students will answer right into the add the form. All right, so in here, in my reading log, you can see this is what I'm going to show you in preview mode what it looks like. So when I come in here, I'm going to collect their first name. I put a picture, so this obviously would be Charlotte's Web. Okay, this would be my form that I would be adding. So last name, so maybe this one is just about Charlotte's Web. So I might be wanting to do first name, last name. I might want to push this up to the top, grab this, push it up to the top. Title of the book, full name of the author. Here's some other things. If I was having students keep track of their book that they were reading while they were home, this is one of the things they could do. They could tell me the genre, the plot, the overall storyline. What was their favorite part? Would they recommend to a friend? Why or why not? That's a good way to gather data from students. That's in a full completed book. Now, if you didn't want to do a full completed book, what you could actually do with students is you could have them do chunk of a book. So you could say, how many pages did you read tonight? That's another way to gather data from your students. So that's data that could be really valuable. You could do a social emotional check here with your kids. Like, how are you feeling? You could use that Likert scale. You could do it. And while you're collecting data, the only people who are going to see the results are you. No one else is going to see their data. So that's really important. So, and I say that, well, I also want to do this. In my settings here, if I was going to collect data, like on social emotional data on my kids, ask them their name, ask them how they're doing, ask them if they need anything to talk about, I would not be checking this box. Nobody else needs to see summary checks and summary charts and text responses for students if I was doing that. That would be private data that I'd want to keep private. Okay, so let me look at a couple other ideas that I have in here just so you have some that you can run with. Employee information, this is one that is important but not super important. This might be more along the lines for my secretaries. So I could email address, first name, last name. This is more along like your first day back. 911 address, was today fun? My gosh, no, is tomorrow fun? Who knows? You can put pictures in. Here's my second section, videos. So just know that you can gather data this way from your from your teachers as well. So if administrators are trying to gather like when teachers are doing virtual office hours during a week, a Google form is a good way to grab that data and have it all come into one, because number one, what it's going to do is it's going to get rid of emails. And if there's one thing that I want to get rid of in my life right now, it's email. I'm getting way too much email. I want to gather as much information as I can in one place, have it all feed into one, and I don't want to replicate it myself. So that's one thing. So I started a parent log over here that I thought might be super valuable. So I put a picture in, I did a bond parent log, and I did an email, a first name, last name. I'm collecting email. This might be valuable to me later down the road as far as things like if I need it in Google Classroom. So I'm going to add another question here. So the best time to contact you, okay? The best time to contact you. So morning, afternoon, evening, I'm going to add all of those choices, and I'm actually going to add an other as well. So the other will allow them to write in that box. I am going to require it. And then I'm also going to ask them, quite honestly, you don't have to put this in, phone number, okay, to contact you by. Because I don't know about you guys, but phone numbers that we have are not always up to date. Even within school tool, again, require it. You might not want to require it. Not every student teacher may have, the best number to contact you by. So, oh, wow, bad typing. Best number to contact you. So you can make this however you want to, because one of the things I think this does too is it pulls all your data into one place again. And I think that's really valuable because we've got too much data coming at us in too many different ways, right? So if I was going to send this, I would just put it into preview mode, because I always check mine. This is the mode that I make. I go through it, I check, I make it, and then I check it. I always go into preview because I am a notorious bad speller. I will make it'll say first instead of first. I'll do something stupid. I'll always come back in here. Okay, so there's it. Number. Yep. Virginia can always screw it up. Trust me, she can always make a mistake. So I'm going to go back in there and I'm going to edit it. Number. Okay, so now I know it's okay. It's all good to go. And I can send it. So I would send it from here. So I would either send it this way or I would grab this link. So if I was going to send it in an email, I would grab the shortened link. You notice I just click that on, it grabs a shorter link. It's a little easier to use. And I would send that to whoever I needed to send it that way. That's an easier way to do it. I've got a couple questions in here about Classroom. So let me just show you what I mean about Classroom. I go to classroom.google.com and I pop into my Classroom here, and I was going to make a classwork. I would never assign it as a link because that's not how I want it to function. I want students to fill it out. I'm going to make my assignment and I'm going to add it right here. I'm going to just add it from Google Drive, and it's just going to it's going to find, I would maybe put in the form for play. So that one. So what's going to happen? I don't get an option. Students can't edit it. Students can't view it. I'm not making a copy for each. It's a Google form. So it knows that when kids come in to click on it, the only thing they could do is click on it and answer it. That's their option. They don't get their own copy because then I get the 135 pieces of paper coming back at me again. That is definitely not what I want. Okay, so I'm going to quickly see where I am because I basically, what I usually do is just like I did, I just kind of plow through when I teach. So I gave you some options in here. One of the things that's new within a Google form in here, when I do responses and I click these dots right here, I can get email notifications for new responses. So if you want to know when kids fill it out, you can turn that on and it'll email you every time somebody turns it on. That could be valuable, especially when you're working with parents. If you want it every time somebody, that's up to you. Like if you want to turn it on or turn it off, that's valuable if you want to know when you're getting pieces back. Okay, so let me stop sharing. I'm pretty much through everything I needed to get through. And what I really want to do is I want to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions? And you can feel free to unmute. What about the key option? Oh, Lauren, you're right. I forgot the key option. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back in. I'll share again. My bad. You asked and I forgot to tell you. So I'll put back over here. So the key, come back over in here. Going to show this right here. Get you guys out of the way. Okay, so if I come in here into my parent log, right? I'm going to go into the mode for questions for parent log and I come in here. So if I want a key, if I need a key, it has to be a quiz. So I built my questions and I'm going to come in. I'm going to make this a quiz. So now this is a quiz, right? It's really hard to have your first name be the right answer, wrong answer, but it'll work. So I'm in here. When I make a quiz, if I know it's going to be a quiz, I automatically go to the settings and I turn the quiz option on and then I come back out and write my questions. So this is not exactly how I would do it, but you'll get an idea. I click the answer key. So the problem with an answer key is that you have to come up with every option that's available to your kids. So if the right answer was students, right? And so, no, I'm going to give them points, whatever I want it to be, 2 points. And if the right answer was students, and you were going to count this students, like lowercase, and you were going to count this students, you have to put every option in. So that can be a pain in the patookie, right? So sometimes you may want to self-grade because it's actually easier than grading any other way. So this is the option. And you might want to, because if you know that Virginia Bond was in your class and she can't spell for juggernauts, and she was going to put stud nets in, because I can guarantee you I would spell it stud nets and not check it before I pushed it in, right? All of those would be correct and then mark all the others incorrect. So if you give feedback, that would be like correct feedback, incorrect feedback, whatever you wanted. Lauren, does that answer your question? In the process of going through and doing the answer key, because it's this part that's the. Sorry. So marking correct answers, that's part of it. And quite honestly, if you're going to give a paragraph, you're never going to let the computer mark it because they just can't. So when I come back in, when I'm all done setting up my quiz and I come back over in here and I go back to quiz, the only thing I do at the beginning is turn on the quiz. Afterwards, I come back in and I make the rest of these choices. I never release a grade immediately after submission for that spelling mistake. Exactly, for the students. So if the kids messed it up, but I knew what they meant, if I had students who couldn't spell, if it was a spelling test, that's a different story, right? They have to spell it the right way. So do you want them to see the missed questions, the correct answers? Almost never the correct answers, because I don't want them to share with their friends. So I do this part at the beginning and then I come back through and do this at the end and then I save it. I do want to show you one more thing that's available as a Google domain. You may have a different option within your Google account. If I go into forms.new and I make it a quiz, I have to make sure I'm in my NARIC account. So it's being a little fussy. In the NARIC accounts with a form quiz, My goodness, will you just do what I tell you to, please? Sometimes it does what it wants. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do it. So over here in quizzes, in a Google domain, right here, under quiz options, you're gonna have locked Chromebook mode. If that's turned on, you want to make sure that you enable that. It's kiosk mode. That's exactly what it puts your kids into. It puts them into kiosk mode. It only works on a Chromebook. Kiosk mode means that they cannot open another tab while they are taking a quiz. So that's that option. All right, so I've got a couple more questions. Lauren, I hope that answered that for you. And can we go in and change the grade if it's a correct answer but a wrong spell? Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. You can always change it. You're in control, right? Google is just trying to help you do some of those quiz options the right way. So Robin, yep, college, son in college. So a lot of professors are trying to use this Google form, and it's not always the best option. You still have to read. You have to read through those options. I know a lot of you have to go, so I'm going to stop the record button, and I am going to be here to answer questions. So feel free to ask whatever. I also